Hello, my name is Dominic Lewington and I am the Director of Consultancy at Highmetric, a global elite ServiceNow partner. It's my great pleasure to be your host for our webinar series on the new Paris release of the ServiceNow platform and modules and applications to sit on top. We've got a really exciting program of interviews with some really impressive guest stars and sort of MVPs of the area to discuss some of their favourite features of the platform, of the applications, and their view on the future of both ServiceNow and industry. So please do enjoy and contact us on the links below if you have anything to discuss around Paris or ServiceNow or enterprise service management in general. Hey, so welcome back. So I'm here with a good friend and long-time colleague, Andrew Paolino, to talk about CSM and specifically customer service management in the Paris release of ServiceNow. Andrew, could you quickly introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, absolutely, Dom. Thanks again for having me. Andrew Paolino. I am the EVP of Enterprise Service Management at Highmetric, and I'm in fact one of the co-founders of the firm. So I've been with Highmetric for the last 5 years and in the ServiceNow ecosystem for the last 5 years. But more broadly, I've been in enterprise service management for the last 15 or so, and I've had the opportunity to see the rise and fall of a variety of different solutions, predominantly BMC Remedy, but also the 3 other service desks that they brought to market. In terms of my role, generally speaking, I engage with customers that have fairly sophisticated use cases, fairly strategic use cases that touch multiple technologies, not just ServiceNow. So oftentimes we're describing the interplay between a variety of different solutions like SailPoint and AppDynamics with ServiceNow and CMDB and how sort of the workflows connect these different technologies. And my passion is really CSM. We've seen a huge rise in terms of the demand for a customer service management solution in the market. So that's who I am and generally how I'm involved with the customer base.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. Okay, with that in mind, let's jump straight in. So, okay, hey, it's really good to be here with you today, Andrew. So one of the things we've asked all our special guests, all our MVPs, is obviously that the theme of this particular webcast series is Paris, the city of love. So one thing you love about ServiceNow, the products, the people, the ecosystem, what excites you about ServiceNow, Andrew?
Or what do I love about ServiceNow? Well, my background, as I said, is really in service management, which means that I've sold a lot of the, dare I say, the legacy solutions, the remedies of the world. And so, the challenge that we had when we were selling and implementing those products was that things didn't quite work. Things were loosely cobbled together, whether it was server automation, database automation, client automation, coupled with a CMDB via some kind of integration that might work, but probably didn't. As I said, I have a lot of PTSD with regards to sort of that whole thing. So with ServiceNow, it just works. And as a result of that, the entire experience from selling the product to implementing the product to sort of making customers happy is just a delight. And that's primarily what I love about the platform.
A really, really good answer. And we've had a lot of different answers to that question. And I think what I've seen a lot is just passion. People are excited about the product, whether they're selling it, whether they're delivering it, whether they're a customer. People are genuinely excited to be working or to be using ServiceNow as a platform and within that ecosystem and community. So that's certainly come through in the answer for all our guests. So obviously we have a specific theme today. We're talking about customer service management or CSM, specifically and obviously in the Paris release. So when you're talking about your customers, when you're sort of playing the advisor role, when you're strategizing with them, how do you position customer service management versus IT service management? A lot of my customers say, okay, Dom, why can't I deliver this service using ITSM? What's your answer to that, Andrew?
So the idea is that, ITSM, when ServiceNow entered the market, ITSM was really about providing this delightful experience to internal customers, if you will, right? So end users were internally facing, and ServiceNow did a great job defining processes and providing great experiences for the internal cohorts or constituents that were being serviced. The challenge that companies are facing today, now that they've conquered those challenges, in many ways, although, the maturity model is always improving over time for companies that are implementing ITSM. But the challenge today is that companies are software companies, meaning that if I'm JP Morgan Chase, I'm delivering mobile banking and I'm a software developer, right? If I'm, Netflix, I'm providing a streaming service, or Disney, a streaming service, I'm developing software. And so now I'm providing an externally facing software service, which is presumably underpinned by IT processes. But the end user that's consuming these services is not necessarily IT savvy. So they don't want to deal with an incident or a change or an asset record. What the heck is an asset record or a configuration item?
Yes.
So customer service management sits on top of the IT fulfillment processes, IT service management, and allows a single point of entry into an organization, so as to make the customer experience sort of a one-stop shop, i.e. the customer engages with a case, with an agent working on their case, and whatever happens behind the scenes from an IT fulfillment perspective, which undoubtedly that process happens today, whatever happens behind the scenes is completely opaque to the customer. The customer just knows that they have a case and it's being worked from start to finish. So that's kind of how CSM is differentiated from ITSM, sort of externally facing versus internally facing, if that makes sense.
Well, absolutely, very much like, say, maybe the quarterback of an American football team. It sort of runs forward, it has the instance, the problem changes, and sort of creates that in terms of almost like an orchestration. Well, that makes
exactly. While maybe the coaches on the sidelines are kind of calling the plays and these types of things through their helmets. That's kind of what ITSM is doing in the background, but it's not obvious to the spectators.
Absolutely, really good answer. And obviously, actually following on from that, one of the reasons I invited you onto our podcast is obviously you are a CSM SME, and I know that we were talking earlier about what's new in CSM in the Paris release. So really, what's exciting you? What sort of features, the evolutions or revolutions that you think Paris is going to bring to the customer service management space?
So with ServiceNow, again, because I come from this world of multiple products integrated together, the power of the Now platform is that there's a single unified data fabric underneath all the applications on the platform, and that's true of CSM as well. So in the Paris release, they've kind of enhanced the customer service management data model. They're calling this the industry data model. Back to your previous question about kind of differentiating CSM and ITSM, where ITSM sort of describes the infrastructure topology and the corporate topology, kind of the relationships between things in the corporate environment. In the CSM side of the house, the data model there describes kind of the customer landscape, right? So I have an account with contacts, or an account with different regions under an account with contacts in each of those regions who have various entitlements, who are entitled to use certain products. We call that the installed base. And so this data model is extremely important when we describe the customer base. And so, and by the way, there's huge interplay between that data model and some of those IT fulfillment processes. So if a customer is entitled to the silver or gold level of support, then maybe IT SLAs are tighter or longer depending on what the entitlement is. And so I think that the data model is a critical piece of CSM, and in Paris they've enhanced that data model. So now it's a more broad industry data model, which describes households and household members for the B2C use case might be relevant for an organization like a Netflix or like a Hulu, et cetera. So for me, that's something that stood out.
Yeah, absolutely, and that actually leads quite nicely onto the next question or the next sort of topic, because I find, like you, I'm talking about technology less and less. I'm talking more about values. I'm talking about outcomes. I'm talking about experiences. So, Andrew, what makes a great customer experience?
Self-service. I mean, that's the easiest answer. So we sort of in our sales capacity have been speaking for years about delivering an Uber-like or Amazon-like experience to the corporate environment. But now, as sort of the focus shifts, we were selling to the enterprise, and the end user was sort of an internal constituent, right? And self-service meant that an employee could self-serve. Now, what we're essentially saying through the lens of CSM is that we need to take our products to the next level and allow end customers, who may be normal people like you and I, to fulfill in the same way that to request and self-serve the way that they might expect to do so from the Uber application or from Amazon or from LinkedIn or whatever, right? To use an application seamlessly on a mobile device or on a web browser. And so that's something that CSM does really, really well, and I think that's critical to sort of the success of the platform. Service Portal and some of ServiceNow's mobile capabilities have really taken it to the next level and continue to do so in the Paris release.
Well, absolutely. I think what you're articulating is a consumer-grade experience, right? Making the world of work as easy to use, as intuitive as home life. And I've often, for many years,
well, maybe it's not the world of work anymore, right? Maybe it's the world of asking for things for the normal normal everyday Joe, right? So taking that consumer experience and extending it across more use cases.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we adapt to the next normal, the new normal, whatever we want to call it, it can only get more
That's
competitive
right.
in the next normal. I'm sure there will be, hopefully, a next normal at some point. But for years and years, the world of work, or whatever we want to call it, the world of being productive, has somewhat lagged behind. So I could order a pizza from my phone. I could order a taxi from my phone. I could order something from Amazon Portal with a single click. Well, I went to work and I needed to email this person for approval. I needed to go to the printer, scan something, print it out, sign it, put it back in. So to see those consumer grade workflows and those experiences move across into the world of work is, I think, exciting my customers. That is for absolutely sure.
Yeah, and I would maybe add that those processes were extremely, again, opaque. Depending on who you spoke to in an organization, someone might know what that process was to ask for the thing, the widget, internally, and others might not. And so the power, again, of the ServiceNow platform is that you can describe those processes, those business processes digitally, and then you can expose those processes via a number of methods, whether those processes are exposed on a mobile device, on a service portal. Now what we're doing is we're providing radical transparency to consumers, internal or external, so that it's very, very clear when and how the thing that they've asked for will be delivered.
Yeah, I think the term ServiceNow uses fanatically loyal customers. That's what we want to drive, people that are very much invested in the experience, in the workflows, and the technology. And I certainly see a movement that way, and it's become more and more mature as we go to 6-monthly release cycles, especially, I think, for instance, Madrid and New York and onwards, which actually leads us to our very last question, the question we've asked all our subject matter experts. What do you see as the short and mid-term direction of the CSM field, the space? Where are we going? What's the goal? What outcome do we want to arrive at? What do you see as, what's your hot tip as the direction for customer service management?
Probably a similar answer to what I described. So there has always been, when we talk about enterprise application, the landscape of enterprise applications, there's always been kind of an emphasis on do more with less, be more efficient, et cetera. And that's probably true now more than ever in pandemic world, if you will, where everybody is sitting at home and asking for help, and companies can't scale up as quickly as possible. They can't add staff fast enough. We were recently engaged with an organization that provides video telecommunication services. It's probably a well-known organization that I can't name, and they quite literally can't hire enough, quickly enough, and train staff quickly enough. And so the name of the game for them, and more broadly for industry, I think, in this new world, is how do you allow customers, internal or external, to self-serve as much as possible? And the way that you do that, specific to ServiceNow, is you emphasize self-service, the service portal. You emphasize mobile. I think ServiceNow is doubling down on the technology capabilities in those two areas. Yeah. But you also do things with artificial intelligence, right? So virtual agents. I know that ServiceNow is investing heavily in machine learning, deep learning. Things like predictive intelligence, whereby as cases or tickets come into the platform, fields are auto-populated with a certain level of probability so that they're routed to the right place, to the right people for fulfillment the first time, as opposed to seeing tickets bounce around. All tied to this kind of financial goal of doing more with less and enabling companies to scale. I think that's what's around the corner. I think that's the writing's on the wall on that one.
Well, absolutely, and I think actually interestingly, in the Paris release specifically, the Predictive Intelligence Workbench, which means to write ML models. You don't need to be a data scientist anymore. Low code, no code, democratizing that process, which again is putting the power into the people who design the processes and design the outcomes rather than data scientists, which I think again is really interesting.
No doubt, and you see, by the way, it's thematic in ServiceNow's M&A strategy, right? They keep acquiring companies and taking those companies' IP and sort of rebuilding the IP, the source code that they're acquiring from those companies, native to the platform. But the theme of the acquisitions has really been around AI and machine learning, and you see it in a variety of places, whether it's this predictive intelligence capability or if it's using business-friendly terms to query and build reports. It's all about making it easier to get the data that you want out of the system, but at the same time automating as much as possible.
Absolutely. Great. Well, Andrew, thanks for joining us today. It's been really, really good to chat about a subject you're obviously very passionate about, and I'm sure our viewers would have taken a lot away from it. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, Dom. Good to speak with you.